and on Apple Podcasts. Let me see here. Yes, my brother.
What? What's going on, brother?
Everything cool, man. Everything cool.
Good to see you. I now say I come and tell you, spin some tunes.
Well, I just got off with Casey.
Yeah.
Precision.
Yeah. I wanted to catch the end piece of that, but I was busy walking the dog.
Oh, man, he dropped an unreleased track.
Nice.
Yeah, so if you go back to the end of it, that's an unreleased track. So we get something cool, you know?
All right. Seattle Soca again, that new stuff.
I know, right? Yeah. You know, so I even put on my bass, but these little things keep falling off the wall here.
Yeah, no sin. You know, dampener pads and stuff. Those things expensive, you know.
They are. Man, look at that. Look at the kind of money Soca bringing us in.
Right. Oh, jeez. No, it's good to see you well, though.
I say, look, I have Precision. I have Abay. I come professional, you know. I can't.
Oh yeah, you know? Yeah. It's all good. It's all love. You know how we do it. Last time I saw you was in what, Trinidad, when you came down to the studio. Yeah, man. Good stuff with Jared.
No. It was.
Who did you come down with?
I just came down with me.
It's you and two other people I think came down. I couldn't remember who it was, because I was only in town for a little bit too.
Right. Yeah. Well, thanks for jumping on, you know, and you know, sharing your expertise.
Expertise.
You're one of the guys that really took it upon yourself to create a whole app for Soca.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I can tell you the story about that too.
I want to hear it. We want to hear it because, I mean, you know, to get a whole app with the kind of feel that it had, you know, I mean, it had the Spotify feel.
Yeah.
I mean, top class, you know, feel, you know. So I'm wondering where, you know, what's going on, you know.
Yeah. All right. So that was a few years ago. So
yeah.
For those who don't know, the app was called Radial, and it was me, my brother, my business partner Andre, one of our colleagues in Seattle itself. His name is Puma. He was a developer over there, and some other guys from DC, John. God, I can't remember all the guys, but it was God, I'm gonna mess it up. But we took an idea from we had this back since 2003, 2004. We had the idea that when people want to listen to music, they either go to YouTube or they go to SoundCloud wasn't even around at that time. They would have stolen stuff, right? And the idea kind of came with the advent of Spotify when that came out, and people were like, yes, I wanted to listen to Soca, but if you go on Spotify, you're not really hearing that, right?
Yeah.
If you go on YouTube, you have to know exactly what you're looking for, and it's not really curated in the way that you want to. DJ mixes weren't really there. Maybe Private Ryan here, there. Shout out to Ryan. Look, Mark now, John. Lloyd Mark, another entrepreneur. You have to talk to Mark too.
Yes. Link up.
Yeah, man, Mark. We're talking about Radial here. The journeys of Radial back in the day. So yeah, it came out to the idea that out of just necessity, you know, we wanted to find a place that we could find our own music and showcase our own talent and share that with the world. Kind of like what you're doing with Seattle Soca. You know, bringing our culture to the larger ecosystem.
Audience.
Yeah. And what we found was there was no app that was doing it at the time. There was little barriers to entry for us. There were no fully established record labels at the time too. So the way how it works for building an application, you have to figure out the revenue model. You have to know how to design it, and you know how to have to launch it. And you have to have some kind of platform in order for it to reach the larger masses. And what we were thinking about was, how do Spotify and who else? It was like these apps get the content that they wanted,
Okay.
and they reached out to the record labels themselves. And because we didn't have a centralized record label of soca music, we have these small independent producers who hold their own content. The groundwork was necessary. So
Yes.
that's why, Spotify couldn't really come in, because they didn't have a central place to go into to say, hey, look, $1 million, give me your catalog. But
Right.
because I was in a musical family, my brother Advocate Productions, my father is into music, my uncle is a producer, my other uncle and cousin DJs, we had all the content. We knew Casey. Casey was
Yes.
he wanted to showcase his music. So we had all the content anyway. We reached out to Fox Fuse, which is the distributor of Caribbean music. Good friends with them. Shout out Zach and the team. And they were like, yo, this is a great idea. Let's push everything. And they were like, yeah, take the catalog, just push it out there. And people gravitated towards it. We got investment from Silicon Valley. We won a big pitch competition where we were the only Caribbean company represented. We went all over the world, kind of showcasing it, And it was crazy. I remember in Jamaica, people are like, yo, this app is mad. Like they come to it all the time to do it. And we realized that it was bigger than just us, just some Caribbean fellas wanting to hear soca music. It was a demand all across the world that people wanted to showcase Caribbean talent. And yeah, it kind of grew from there. It was a multi-million-dollar company. And a few years ago, I divested. My business partner is still running a subsidiary of the company. He took it in a different direction, but it was a great ride. And now I'm seeing other companies doing something similar. There's an app called Cacique that's showcasing Caribbean music too. So shout out to the team that's doing that. There was an app called Tune. Kuhn was doing that. So it's like people took the idea and ran with it. And for us, that was a success because we wanted it to exist. We wanted people to know that the Caribbean is here and our music has like strength and has value. And people are willing to pay money for that. So yeah, that was the journey. It was madness. It was madness.
Man, but I feel like it should be here still right now.
It should. Well, so let me give you a rundown, right? Like radio was my baby at that point. Like I was like live and breathe. I'm an economist by trade, so I work for the University of Michigan. And I was like part-time doing this research work and building technologies for them, part-time DJ, and then part-time doing radio. And then I got married a few years ago, and we were thinking about starting a family, so something had to give. I couldn't put all my energy into that, all the traveling, all the road shows we had to do, and the grinding, going and talking to these investors.
Yes.
It was hard. It took a toll. And I told my business partner, Andre, like, I can't commit the kind of energy that it needs to, right?
Yes.
And I was like, I believe you can take it and you run with it. And he bought my shares of the company and he ran with it. And he went a different direction. He wanted to go into like travel and bringing people into the country to kind of build in the wealth, So I see that. I respect that. And I mean, more love to him. I had a good ride. But being someone like me who's interested in like showcasing the music to the world, I still do it. I still DJ every weekend. Now with COVID on, it's kind of tough. But here in Michigan, I'm trying to showcase the talent in the same way, right? Trying to bring artists who people may not know and showcase them. One of my business partners, another DJ fella, he's from Michigan here, and he sent me a video clip of a bunch of these white people just dancing, listening to soca, and Mr. Killer Run With It. So they're on the beach, right? And he's streaming this, and they're on the beach, and like he playing Run With It, and them picking up stuff and running with it. So it's like we know. But the journey was legit. We had ups and downs, challenges. It was tough to break into the Caribbean market, if that makes sense. Like we reached out to investors in Trinidad, and we were like, we want to build this up. So, give us some support. We reached out to different brands like Harab and stuff, and they were like, we don't know you. We don't believe in your vision. Yeah. And it was tough for them to put money where their mouth is. They're like, we like it, but you have to go out and do it first before we can come and support it.
Come and support it.
Which is kind of sad. You know,
Look, Mark saying, Abby, you know Seattle Soca before? Yes, since I was a little baby.
yeah. Because Mark from Diamondville, you know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so I probably ran into him before back.
Yeah.
Way back somewhere.
Back in the day. But that idea of like, it felt like crabs in a barrel. It felt like the colonialistic mindset where they don't believe in the value of their own people until they go out and abroad and succeed and then come back.
Make it sweet and come back.
Yeah, and that was sad. I remember we had a TV spot about radio. Like we again interviewed on the news and people were showcasing it, and like within an hour of that TV spot going up, some of the powers that be, I don't want to call any names, were calling and being like, yo, you can't do this. This is rupturing the industry. And they were threatening us. And we were like, I guess this is the kind of industry that we live in, right? And we took it in stride, and we went out and we went to Silicon Valley. We did our pitches, we did the road shows, and we got it. And then after that, people were like, all right, yeah, I know those fellas. Come and talk to us. And you know, it's sad that it's like that, but you know, we have to be the change that we want to see. You dig it? Like we have to go out, do it, and if we can lift up the next generation, they do it, and forget those people who are thinking like negatively.
Because you know, it comes down to, you know, businesses, because you're getting into the business of things, right? And you know, there's that, you know, there's serious competition because, you know, the immediate, you know, you become an immediate threat, right? And
that's right.
Disruptive as well. And you know, a place like Trinidad and Tobago, if it disrupts something, you know, it's really getting disrupted because on some things, you know, they're a bit behind on it, or you know, they're not, you know, ready to pivot away from it. That's right. You know, so I could imagine the kind of pushback that you guys were getting, and you know, you don't think about it right away. You know, like for me, I'm just seeing the nice app and I'm like, well, where is it? You know, but even in the States, right? If you're going up, if you're jumping into a market, right? You have your entry points that are blocked, right? And your barriers to entry, right? And you know, you get met with pushback. You know, I mean, so you're an economist, and I'm a supply chain guy, right? So we have a lot of supply chain a lot of economics in supply chain. Of course. As well, you know. And, you know, so for me, it's, you know, learning the market and figuring out how I'm going to enter the market, sort of like more of like a Trojan, right? Yeah.
Once you're in, and then you kind of bloom. I know it's sneaky. It's the nature of the game.
And so more so from a model like radio, you know, I think it would for a place like Trinidad, it would make more sense almost to license your IP with like 96 or like, you know, like OG or like Ojo or something like that.
Oh god,
you know?
Oh god, I don't want to call him names, but
well, I can call him because I'm in Seattle, and you know, whatever.
We eventually built a partnership with them, somewhat of a relationship, and they had content on radio. So I don't know if you remember it, but that was a challenge too. If you're familiar with how things work in Trinidad, it's who you know and if they know you, right? Like if they are willing to vouch for you. And it's tricky. I see Casey just jump back on. Casey know it. Like Casey was in it for years. And Casey was doing it before people even know who Casey was. Same thing with Kit. He was doing it for years. And it's like you have to boss in order for people to support you. And then once you boss, you have to have someone vouch for you and say, yeah, them is good people. And for us, we were like new to the scene. Like, granted, my family is in it, but they don't know me, right? They just know, they might hear me DJ here and there, but it's not like Abay Israel coming in to do this. And they don't have a trust in me as a brand. So for Kit, when Kit went in, he was able to have some of those conversations and like, yeah, you do the can rhythm. You know, you're bringing in a lot of money for us. You're doing all our ads and stuff. Now we're willing to have a meeting with you. And that was the kind of game that we had to play. We say, okay, we use the resources that we had to get the places that we needed. Like Marshall was part of it. Marshall was part of our conversations all the time. He was always in our house, like talking, back and forth with the idea. And Marshall is a businessman, so
Oh yeah,
you have to talk like if you're not making money, it's not making sense.
it's not making
But
sense.
he also knows the value of the culture, and he knows that you have to put money where your mouth is, and it can't be just giving away content for free all the time.
Right.
And for us, it was tricky because it's an app and people don't like to pay for stuff, right? We knew that. So we had to figure out what was a good pricing model for it. And luckily, we have thousands of users. People really liked it. But after a while, it was tough to maintain financially without trying to find a way to generate content, generate revenue. And we had a pretty decent idea of how to do it. But, given the time commitment, it just didn't work for me, right?
Yes.
So maybe for someone else, it could work for them.
I'll stop beating you up on it because, because you listen to people like the CEO of like Continental, right? Yeah. Continental Air. This guy, he built his own airline, and then he had to divest, right? Yeah. Because they pushed him out of the business, and then he built JetBlue, I believe. Same thing.
Yeah.
Pushed him out of it, because there's always somebody who could do it better, and then there's the politics, within that field. And well, in America, there's even more politics when it comes to, planes in the sky and the supply and demand for that, and the relation to, paying back to the public the money that's invested, right? Going public and stuff like that, So for you guys, it's like you guys are taking this, something that might seem that it's light years ahead, and bringing it into the Caribbean, and expecting folks to gravitate right away. Yeah. So obviously that wouldn't work that easily, right?
Yeah.
But it could, right? Like say one day someone come up with something that's that's a record label and looks like radio as well. And people could invest in it.
Yeah.
Like Prestige Limited or whatever could own a big portion of it, and people could invest in it. Well, then I could see that working.
So I mean, there's a bunch of different models that we can talk about here, right? Like for us, Radial, the way how we did it, it worked for what it was, and it allowed other people to be inspired and do their own thing. We were able to showcase, and we got our name out there, and it worked. Yeah. Right. For us, there's this concept called fail fast, which is like build something, get it to the user as quickly as possible, and if they don't like it, they will tell you. And then you iterate and you iterate and you iterate.
Fail fast and often, right?
Yeah.
Look at that. Look, my stuff falling off.
Fail fast and often. Exactly. Yeah. And for us, we were like, the learning curve that we had to go through. How do you generate revenue? How do you get investment? How do you spend that money? Do you spend it on marketing? Do you spend it on development? Do you continue to build your brand as opposed to build your application? Right? That was the trade-off. And for us, we learned a ton. And it is, especially in the United States, if you're trying to build your own business, it's not just a good idea. You have to be able to time it correctly. Like when you come to market, you have to have those right people in your corner, and you have to be able to frame it in a way that people say, I am generating value from this product that you have.
Oh, yes.
And if one of those things are not achieved, you're not gonna make it.
The feasibility of whatever you're doing, because I'm also the owner of something digital. I own a digital company in freight, right? Yeah. So I'm able to move freight, and I've partnered with a really big company called Global Trans together with my company and my relationships, right? So but if I didn't have the relationships that I have, there's no way I would be able to get in there at the right time and be able to do anything, because it's about who you know and your capacity to do certain things quickly and communicate with certain people and these things. So it's a trifecta, like you're saying, right? Where you have to have these things in place, or nothing is gonna happen.
Correct. So I'm an agile guy. So I don't know if you know what agile is, but the agile manifesto is basically iterate as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Right. And for me, it's like whenever I build something, so I built stuff for the University of Michigan, so data models and like
Yes.
research technologies. And for us, we're talking multi-million-dollar grants that we're dealing with here. I have a really big one that I'm doing. I could tell you about that one, but
Yeah.
this idea, like we are using agile in such a poignant way and like a strong way that
Yeah.
we are not just talking it. It's like I am going to give you a prototype. I'll draw something on a piece of paper and say, does this work, right? And
Yeah.
that is much more powerful than say I'm going to spend $10,000, do a prototype, and get it to the user after 10 months, right? Like that way of building it, call it the waterfall standard, where you
Yes.
build piece, and then you give it to the customer.
Mm-hmm.
That has shown that people, unless you're really lucky, you're not going to produce something that customers want. So I use both agile in all my technologies that I develop and user-centered. So agile, user-centered design, and co-creation of value. And what co-creation is like you're building it with the actual customer.
With the
So
end user.
exactly, you're close with them, you have that close relationship, and they are telling you, you know what would be good if you put a button here, or you get this and you get sprinkles, right? Like if you can have that close connection with your customer, whether you're in music, whether you're in supply chain, whether you're building technology, whether whether you're selling food, right?
Well, yeah,
That
it takes a lot of money, because I've worked in that relationship with Accenture,
Yeah,
and with Boston BCG, Boston Consulting Group.
Yep.
All this, for a nonprofit where we were building out an ERP system,
right.
Together with Salesforce, right?
Nice. Okay.
So, we call it the bleeding edge, right?
Right.
So we're on the bleeding edge, right? Making these decisions based off of, the way the business works, and what we would like to see. So, we had a guy taking notes right now and overnight building these different ways the money's gonna,
Components and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, building
I-
recipes, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, and we got what we wanted, and it took almost $1 million, to get that done,
But at the same time, you don't need $1 million to start. Like you can
Right.
start with a pen and paper and someone who you know has a problem. And
Yes.
if you can figure out a way to solve that problem for that one person, and you can replicate and you figure out, is this a problem that other people have? Would my solution work for those people? Then you're onto something right there. And you just keep iterating on that idea quickly, and you build up a team around you that would support your idea. Granted, some people can do it by themselves. Some people
Right.
are just super geniuses and they can do everything. Like my boy Mark, who was just on, he's a
Yeah.
beast. He is a beast. Like,
Mark had asked if if he's still on. Yes, it's gonna be on Anchor and Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I'm gonna save it and put it on there. So
but Mark is
Yeah,
a good
so-
person. Mark is a self-made guy too.
Wow.
He's able to take the hits and keep moving forward and build his
Yes.
own brand. On the topic
Okay.
of brand, I didn't know if we wanted to shift a little bit, but I have
Yeah.
a different view on brands, different view on labels, different view on like the direction how the world is going. And again, this is my personal view. Don't shoot me, whoever. I believe that there's currency in people's influence. Let's put it like that. And I believe the next big thing to bust is people are going to pay for influence by individuals. So, if anyone listening and they want to build an app, I already think of it. It's called influencer. But if you want to take it, you can do it as well. So it's whatever. I'm not greedy. So it's like the idea is people, like individuals who have a following. Seattle Soca, for instance, right? Nice.
Oh, my thing falling off.
like Seattle Soca, for instance, or an individual like Precision who has a brand and a following. Companies are willing to pay money to reach your audience. And if it's like Coca-Cola reached out to Precision and say, I want you to shout out Coca-Cola in this song and I'll pay you $10,000 for it, right? That not only generates money for Precision, it all allows Coca-Cola to directly meet that market. And if there is a space that allows these negotiations to happen, and you can take a small percentage of that, that's a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Oh yes, that's like B to influencer to C.
Exactly. So I mean, free idea for people if you want to take it and run with it. My wife is having a baby, so I don't have time for it now. But take it and run with it. But the idea of being like how the idea of influence and your data points and nodes, the connective tissue that you have with other people, that is going to be what's going to drive value to a bunch of businesses.
Oh man, you know, so I once said a company that I worked for, you know, but that's exactly what we made money off of, right? We had, you know, football players and very rich people, you know, show up to our events that raised money, you know, just based off of their influence, you know. So we were trying to figure out how to take those data points as well to figure out, you know, who was coming, you know, the analytics on how many people bought tickets, you know, to a dinner and all this type of stuff. So we decided who we would, you know, work with more and who we would put in our ads, you know, and who we would have on our pamphlets for, you know, getting donations and all this type of stuff, you know. And if you could build a model that quickly identifies, you know, or API or whatever, that quickly goes out, identifies people that fulfill the need, the target market, the segment, all that stuff that you're trying to get into. That would be, you know, that's essentially taking Google Analytics, you know, Facebook Analytics, all that type of stuff, smashing the social and the business together, you know, and creating that sort of app.
Yeah, so the same idea that I was telling you, how it's all about connections, all about who you know and who know you kind of thing. That's the fundamental principle of this idea. And if you can put a value next to that idea and people are saying, I am putting in $10,000, I'm looking for an influencer who does this, money. And you can take a small percentage, even if it's like 1% of every transaction, you're a billionaire within a year, period.
Oh yeah. So, there was one app that we had created where people would sign up for the app, right? Or restaurants would sign up for the app. And the consumer would download the app. And every time the consumer goes to a restaurant, the restaurants that signed up, $1 would go and be shared between the app developer and the nonprofit organization.
Nice.
So
money
was just rolling in, you know? And, you know, so all these ideas, you know, but for me, I'm thinking, okay, well, I need to find, you know, it comes with time, right? I don't have the time to find like the right development team, or, you know, I just haven't gotten there yet, you know, where,
I feel
you know, so I mean, it's like, how did you guys get to that point? How did you guys find the right developers without, you know, with a small budget, you know, to create that strong app? How did you guys do that?
So it's tough. It's not just, you can't just go and be like, all right, give me a developer. So it's not like that. We started at a point where we built it for BlackBerry back in the day, and we were like, we'll pay someone to do it. And the app didn't work. It just wasn't to the standard that we needed it to be. Then we said, okay, you know what, scrap that. Let's start again. Let's get a new name. Let's build it again. And we did it for Android. And we had a person that we worked with, a Trini guy, really good developer, and he got scooped up from Google right after the first iteration of it. So we were like, all right, fine, let's figure out something else, right? And what we ended up doing is reaching out to our markets, reaching out to our friends, our colleagues, and not just trying to pay for a developer. I think that was our mistake when we did it. We wanted to have a developer as part of our leadership team, and not just a person who knows how to develop apps, but a person who's done it before and has that human UX UI experience, so they know how to do something well. And then we found some designers who would also do that really well. And we built a full team of people who did not just development, but understand a user experience and translate that into technology for people to play around with. And we did it agile way. So the developer, the guy from Seattle that I was telling you about, like, it was just serendipity. Like, I was in Seattle for something else, for a conference, and I was hanging out with some friends of mine, and they were like, hey, I have a guy who's really good at app development. You want to meet him? Y'all can talk about football. And I was like, all right, cool, let's go. And we met him, and we had that same kind of energy, kind of like, he loves music. He never heard of soca music in his life before. And he was like, this is kind of a good idea. If it can work, I'm in. And we brought the dream to him. You know, as an entrepreneur, you're selling a dream. And he was able to see that vision and then translate it into something that he wanted to do. And it worked out. And from there, we started to keep building our team. We did all those road shows, and people were like, oh, this app is dope. Can I join? And people were trying to do it for free. But for us, we knew the value of our company, and we knew the value of work. So we didn't want anyone to really work for free. So we said, okay, here's the percentage breakout. If we make money, if we get investment, this is your payout for the month or whatever like that. And it worked. Because again, we believe in the value of our people and the value of our product, and, you know, money talks. So we, you know, growing up in the Caribbean, you know, we DJ, and we would DJ for nothing, for free, right? We want to get our name out there. But if we want to build an app where other people can generate money, artists, producers, writers, DJs, we have to, you know, drink our own Kool-Aid, and we have to make sure that we are paying the people what they deserve to be paid. Seriously, just like that. Yeah. Crazy.
Let me get into some questions here.
Yeah.
So one of them was, you know, the one about entrepots, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, so entrepots being, I have to look at it.
It's basically intermediaries between countries to facilitate trade. That's
the areas that are facilitating trade, that are basically where the commodities are coming from, and we're looking at soca in those terms.
Okay.
You know, so soca and the developers of soca being an entrepot of, you know, of a commodity. You know, of a commodity.
Interesting. Okay.
You know, so as an economist, right?
Yeah.
And for Seattle Soca or anybody else that's trying to push a product like that, right? I was giving Casey the example, you know, Seattle Soca is the name, but just like Starbucks and Seattle's best coffee, you know, it's the music is just like a product that you're packaging and you're distributing it all over the world, you know? Okay. So the Caribbean or Trinidad to start being the entrepot, right? How do we harvest and package it, you know, in the right way to bring it to the target market and the segmented market? Okay.
So that's a multi-pronged question, right?
Yeah.
One that I have to preface and say I don't have the full answer for, because otherwise, if I had the answer, it would have been done already, right?
Yes.
But here's my personal belief, right? There is a substantial market of expatriates, diasporic people around the world who are interested in the music that we provide. And those people are willing to spend money to support that. They've shown that by coming to Trinidad or going to St. Lucia or Grenada or whatever during Carnival, and they spend millions and millions of dollars. These people, myself included, who live abroad, want to identify with that culture in a tangible way. And music is one of those tangible ways. So I'll start that with that's the first assumption. Okay?
Okay.
The tricky part of it is I believe that people struggle with the idea of paying for digital musical content. I think people have been getting it free for so long, YouTube, Spotify, radio, that it is a challenge for them to want to pay for that content. I think what would need to change is a complete cultural shift where they start feeling like this has monetary value that they are willing to spend on. Because paying to go to a fete is not just paying for the music, you're paying for that experience. You don't want to just go for carnival just to listen to music because you want to go feel the entire atmosphere and that vibe. So in order for people to pay for that content in a way, you have to totally shift how they think about consuming that content. I have a buddy, Etienne Charles, a really good musician. You probably know who he is. He took that leap. He didn't do soca music. He did jazz music. And he is charging people like, if you want to buy his record, this is how you do it. And he is able to generate that content and people find value in it. People buy his albums. People pay to go to his shows. In the Caribbean, soca, artists themselves realize that they don't really make money off of sales. They make money from gigs. Right. Etienne is the goat. Yeah, for real. So, I mean, like Etienne knew how to monetize and to create value for his content. He's not just giving away stuff for free.
Right.
Right. And that is the cultural shift that we would have to get away from. I don't know if it's possible. Let me be clear. Yeah. I don't know if it's possible unless there's a shock to the system where maybe some American person or some German person comes in and says, I invent soca and this is how much I'm going to charge for it.
Right.
All of a sudden, Caribbean people will be like, soca is we thing. No, you're not going to let anybody do it. And then they're going to put their money where their mouth is. That's the only way that I can see a real shift in people's mentality. The other part of this, so I'm just saying, it's a kind of a double-edged sword. The first part is, would people pay for stuff? I don't know. I really don't know. The other part of it is the definition of soca in general. I struggle with selling this experience, this musical content, to people who do not identify with the diaspora or do not identify with the experience. It is a challenge. You're a DJ. You already know this. Like, so in a place where people are used to spending money on music and these new experiences, in the States here specifically, I'm just using it as an example. If you sell this music as this is something brand new, you can't get it anywhere else, and this is the story that it does, this is the story that it's portraying, and this is how much it costs, those people are going to pay for that as long as they can identify with it. And that's the struggle that soca has. Soca started with, the soul of Calypso, Ras Shorty I, from telling a story where people can listen to the story and listen to the track, that call and response back and forth, and it became, I knew what soca was. But as soca started to evolve, I wish Casey was here, I wish Kit was here, that definition of what soca is becomes blurry. People, they don't know, like,
they differentiate it 100%. Yeah.
Exactly. It's easy to tell what reggae is. It's easy to tell what hip-hop is, R&B, even electro house, all these subgenres of electric music. But when you talk about soca, are you saying that it is 150 BPM? Or are you saying it is the tractor beat, or is it horns that's playing? How do you classify that type of music to people who don't understand it? And then on top of that, the messaging that's in the music may not be appropriate for those groups that you want to reach out to. Like, you can sing about jump and wave and being on the streets, but do the people who have money in the United States want to subscribe to that and be like, oh, this is what I want? Not really. They have no way to identify to that. The people in the Caribbean diaspora, of course, they're going to be like, yeah, this is my stuff. This is my stuff, right? Yeah. Like, they're willing to do it, but they're not going to pay for the content. They're going to pay for the experience, right?
We're still at 1,000% a genre. Yeah, there's nothing. There's no stamp. There's no benchmark. That says, correct. This is that genre.
Even now, we are borrowing bits and pieces from dancehall, Afro beats, electric music, and we are still in this identity space where we're trying to figure ourselves out. I only know it's soca music because it's playing during carnival, and Kit send me something, or it's a soca artist that's singing.